It's a Monday night on Manitoulin Island's Wikwemikong Reserve. A small group huddles in a beautiful log cabin, sharing their stories as they discuss this week's Bible lesson. It's these stories that brought Don and his wife Shirley here many years ago, and has kept them here ever since.
God didn't just lead me to this, He pushed me. He had His hand there on me, and He was just putting me through this maze. You know, I didn't know where I was going, but I just knew there was a destiny there. And I'm just forever grateful, you know, that He brought me here.
The beautiful island of Manitoulin. When Shirley first arrived here over 20 years ago, she, like many, were amazed by its natural beauty. But it also became her mission field. She had started the work with her first husband, Richard, before he lost his battle with cancer. Years later, after running a summer camp for kids on the reserve and being allowed to start an outreach in town, a privilege rarely given to outsiders, she married Don, also a widower, who fell in love with the Wikwemikong people as well.
These are wonderful people, and I've discovered that it's not so important what I know as how I care and how I have time for people, and how I'm prepared to get down and dirty with them, or down to the level where they are, and to share their afflictions and share their pain, and to somehow identify with that, and then use whatever skills God has given to me and whatever experience I have to help lift them out of where they are.
With problems of suicide, violence, addictions, and other social issues, the people of Wikwemikong, or Wiki as it is affectionately called, have gone through a lot. Now over 10 years old, the Daystar Native Outreach Center caters specifically to the community's needs, providing after-school programs, women's and men's gatherings, and also Sunday fellowship services. The primary goal is to be a place of healing and outreach, something even the community elders have noticed over the years.
And I'm glad they're here. I'm glad they're here for the children.
Not too long ago, I was at a chief and council's meeting, and the former chief who extended the invitation to us to come here was present, and he made the comment that when he goes through the community and he sees some of these people in the stores and on the streets and so on who attend Daystar and participate in the programs, he said, you know what, they're different people now.
One of those people is Tawny Manitou.
I was into a lot of drugs and, you know, drinking and dating guys and, you know, just part of that whole scene. Growing up here on the reservation, that's just what most people do, like kids when we're growing up. And yeah, I got into experimenting with drugs probably at the age of, wasn't about grade 7, grade 8, yeah.
Tawny continued to abuse drugs for years, but one evening she was invited to a church service where her life was changed.
I was like, wow, I was like, what better thing to do than to give my life back to God, who knows me more than I know me.
2 weeks later, her whole world was turned upside down when she had to move back home. She was 19, a new Christian, single, and pregnant with her first child.
At the time, we were a part of the community suicide prevention committee, and we had a hotline. And Tawny called that hotline, and I went down the hill, as we say, and found her in this little apartment, a 19-year-old girl with a tiny baby, and you know, in need, and speaking to her, and you know, starting the friendship and everything. But just to see that girl love Christ with all her heart and soul and mind and strength, and just getting a hold of the Word of God and just imbibing it, you know, and living it.
You don't even have one of those.
And Tawny would agree. Simply grateful, she says, for all Don, Shirley, and their staff were able to do to get her back on track.
I'm very, very grateful that, you know, I know, like, I found truth so that I could teach, you know, my daughter the truth. And, you know, so, like, we've been going to church, you know, regularly here at Daystar, and also she's attended the summer day camps.
Yolanda has been a part of Daystar for many years as well. A dedicated member of the Sunday Fellowship, she had to overcome the memories of a painful and volatile childhood.
My father worked out of town during the week, and he was only home on weekends. And weekends was payday, and my parents would often party all weekend long, and they'd fight all the time.
But one morning, while hiding in her room trying to forget about the arguments from the night before, she found something, or better yet, someone, that changed her life forever.
I would watch TV, usually cartoons, but this time it was Crossroads that showed up on TV, and they were doing an invitation to the salvation prayer. I would say the salvation prayer with him, and that really gave me peace in my heart. And it took the fear away from what went on the night before.
Now surrounded by a church family, both Tawny and Yolanda have overcome their past and been able to show a community filled with so many similar stories that there is hope.
I've realized that every single person has a story. I didn't know stories like that before in my life, and that's had a real impact on me.
Today, when Doris walks into Daystar, she knows she is a changed woman as well. Once a drug addict, she contracted the AIDS virus years ago.
I was seriously addicted. I was using drugs on a daily basis, and my life was not going anywhere. It was very dark, and I had lost everything that I valued in my life, and I was just barely hanging on.
Doris eventually sought help, got herself cleaned up, and now, years after her first diagnosis, she says the doctors have declared the virus virtually undetectable. And now, after first accepting Jesus at the age of 23, her faith has been restored once again. There are so many more stories and so many more hearts that have been broken, but many more that have been restored. Some say because Daystar has created a place where the community can come together, share past hurts, and commit them to God.
The part we have been able to play is quite remarkable, quite remarkable. And now we're invited into other communities to do the same thing.
But unfortunately for this husband and wife team, time was short. A few years ago, Don was diagnosed with cancer. And while he continued to pastor a hurting community, he had to deal with his own pain as well.
The men of the community, for example, who come here in droves twice a month for a free breakfast, now they are seriously concerned for me. And they frequently stop me along the way when I'm walking or visiting in the store and so on. And they want to know how I'm making out, the progress of the disease and so on. So that's, to me, that's a remarkable way in which these wonderful people have embraced us and accepted us as part of the scenery here.
And with that in mind, their work carried on, side by side, helping a community they have been dedicated to for so many years.
It's been so fun, really. It's a wonderful journey. And to know that God is just so present here. And Don often says our goal is to see God walking around in native bodies.
A little bit of a poem that I tried to adjust to fit our situation here. And it goes something like this: O Wikwemikong Manitoulan, to me thou still art dear. Even from the verge of Jordan, I shed for thee a tear. Oh, if one soul from Wiki meet me at God's right hand, my heaven will be 10 heavens in Emmanuel's land.
We are sad to say that Don lost his battle with cancer only a few months after this interview. He leaves behind his loving wife, Shirley, children, grandchildren, and a community who has been deeply touched by his life and dedication. On Manitoulin Island, Magdalene John, 100 Huntley Street.